Hey everybody, it is June 3rd in Southeast Texas, and everything is growing and everything is hot. Um, so today, right behind me, this thing here, I am pretty sure is a wild lettuce. It looks like that, um, although it's a nice crown also. Um, I'm going to go ahead and cut it down. I did some cutting down of some similar plants uh, in the back 40 yards last weekend, and I've been thinking ever since. I'm always thinking when I look at these, they look like wild. I'm thinking ever since. I'm always thinking when I look at these, they look like wild lettuce to me. But I'll show you some reasons that I've thought that maybe they aren't. So hang on just a sec, and I'll show you. So is that already that? What is that? Okay, so this is what the leaf looks like. Now, in most videos about wild lettuce, we hear all the time that the spine has to have some little hairs on it, okay? But I've been looking around to find out, well, what is this since it doesn't have those? But I just found I think it's called Spirit of the Outdoors YouTube channel in Mississippi um, where he has lots and lots of kinds of wild lettuce in his property. Many of them have different leaves than what I've got, but this leaf in particular, sorry, it's very polleny out here. This leaf in particular, he mentioned he doesn't see hairs on it at all, like even against a black background, which is what I'm looking at it on. Um, with right now, there's nothing like that, and yet it's a really healthy leaf, right? Like it's very green. It's like there's no puck marks on it. There's no aphids. There's nothing on here. So my ancestor instincts have been telling me all this time for like the last 2 years of living here, that's wild lettuce, go do something with it. But then I kept seeing these videos that said no, it's not. And I know there are a lot of lookalikes, but when I look up the lookalikes, their qualities are different than this. So this is my first test. You'll see there's no hairy dudes on here. But like I say, the guy who knows way more than me, who does his foraging in barefoot, which is something I will probably never be able to do, says that this is a real thing. So the other thing I'll show you here is I'm going to check on the sap and see if the sap produces a real thing. So the other thing I'll show you here is I'm going to check on the sap and see if the sap produces that milk latex sap. So let me do that real quick. So hard. Yep, sure enough. Okay, so now, again, a lot of the wild lettuce videos tell us that only wild lettuce has this milky sap, has this latex. I found one today that said that's not true. So, and I believe that because there's lots of things that make latex besides that. So you can see on this bottom part of the blade, this part that's on my nose right here, that is that milky sap. That's the latex. And, and there's a humongous bug. Sorry. Wow, what even is that? I don't even know what that is. It's like a mixture of 5 different bugs. That's what we have here in Texas. Mixtures of bugs that get scarier and scarier. Okay, so I'm going to chop this down. Here's 5 different bugs. That's what we have here in Texas. Mixtures of bugs that get scarier and scarier. Okay, so I'm going to chop this down. You're not looking to just get the leaves. You're looking actually mostly for the stalk because that's where the latex is. And that's where if you need anything medicinal, that will kind of come from. So I'm going to pull that down. I'm also going to go back through the rest of the yard where last week I chopped down a bunch of other ones before I knew what this was. But these are great leaves. These are edible as well, just like they are, or you can cook them. So if you want to even divide it up, if you have a family, you know, take down all of these leaves, make something good to eat, and then you'll notice these are yellow. I think this is the Varroa variety. The bottom leaves are real spiky, not like this. I'll show you. This is the leaf as it is on the bottom half of the plant. So a lot more spiky, a lot more like what you might think of as a dandelion type. I know it has a name, but you know what I mean. But then this one, no spikies at all, right? Like the spikies are just on this edge, but it's very much like an oval type of shape. So, so just because you have two different kinds of, and I mean, I have sage that has literally 4 different leaf shapes on the same exact plant. It's cool. Whatever you've got in your yard, I'm sure it's fine. So I'm going to chop this down. The way I'm going to do it, you got to keep in mind, these are they're monster stalks, honestly, but I mean, my stalks are a good inch around even at that midpoint, so I'm sure it'll be more underneath. This that I have, my hedge clippers are on purpose, the ones that cover a little over 1.5 inches, about 1 5/8 inches. And inside the stalk is pretty much empty. It's hollow. So so once you can get in there, you're kind of okay. But if you have a machete or cleaver, that can work too. So what I did, and a box will do you just as well here, but I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the biggest ass pot I have. Let me see what this is. This is an 18 quart. So that's 4.5 gallons. That'll be plenty of room for this one. But of course, I'm trying to harvest the other ones too. Now, the other thing I want to show you, a couple things. I have some dot growing. I harvested most of it last week. I actually didn't know it was growing in my yard at all. It wasn't growing in my yard last year. That was my first year here. But it is this year. And this is why I always recommend if you're at a new place, try to just let things grow in as much as you possibly can for the first 2 years, because a lot of things cycle in biennially. And that way you won't mow something over that's awesome that then you're going and buying stuff from Gaia Herbs that you don't need to buy because it's in your yard. I love Gaia Herbs, good quality products. But you know, if you can get it from your yard, that's great too. So what I'm going to do here is, oh, and this is interesting because this may actually be a wild lettuce. I thought this was a dock. I don't think it is a dock. It looks like a dock originally because it's in a basal rosette. It means it's kind of like a dandelion where you have kind of one flower shooting out, but the rest is just leaves. But this over here, let's see if you can see this. This is the underside, and you can see those hairs. Those hairs are clearly on there, right? And they're not, like I can feel them even through my gloves. So they're kind of hard. So this may be the beginning of a wild lettuce right here. And again, a little different shape, right? A little more like a dandelion. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest those because, heck, it's June. This stuff's going to be growing for a while. So I am okay with going ahead and harvesting it. Ooh, this is interesting. Let's look at what this is too. Okay, this is a small taproot here. This looks like, yeah, this is hairy too. So this is a teeny tiny wild lettuce. Look at this, and it's already flowering because it's June and it's very hot. It got very hot very fast, and at that point, it really starts to explode into flower. Here's our nice taproot. There's plenty more growing, so I got nothing to worry about. But this is what I've been suspecting. I'll show you what this is before it. I'd already kind of pulled these up a little bit last week, and that has kind of made them look weary. But I'm going to show you what this looks like when it's perky. Hang on. There we go. Now, I've been asking in my foraging groups for a while about this, but because I don't have a cell phone, can't take a picture of it for people, but ironically can make you a video about it. This doesn't strike me as wild lettuce, but now that I've seen so many varieties in the in YouTube in different locations, and especially in Mississippi and Alabama, where they grow like a zillion different wild lettuces, and they all look so different. I'm feeling bolder about it. This right here, I have always thought it grows up to be about 2 feet high, and then like through the summer, it'll get to be 4 and 6 and more if I let it. This is real hairy. Like this, the stalk is hairy, the underside is hairy, the sides are hairy. It's all about the hairy. Again, it's a pretty decent taproot. It's kind of a hybrid root, but it's got some taproot action to it. But honestly, I thought this was like a columbine or something for the first year and a half because it looks like something that would flower. You know, it looks like something that would like turn into like something red should be on top, right, of here. But it's not like that. And so I pulled a whole bunch of them last week. Most of them are out by the road. So now that I know they're probably usable, I'm not going to pick them up from the road because now they've been by the road for a week. But these are like well inland, if you will say, in my property. So, and they grow like crazy. I honestly, when I look at them, I think of them as horsetail because they just strike me as horses' tails. But they're not horsetail. That's not what they are. I think this is a wild lettuce that might be particular to, I'll show you. Actually, so this is new. This has little hairs on it too. And as the guy told me from the Spirit of the Outdoors channel, he said not all of them, even on the same plant, will have hairs, and some of them will just have a few hairs. Well, this is a great example of that. So you can see there's a hair here. Ooh, there's hair here. And there's a hair here, which you probably can't see, but there is. But the rest of it is like smooth as a baby's bum. Okay, so and it's a little different shape, right? It's more the shape of what I just showed you a few minutes ago that we thought was dandelion for a minute than this, which is my big old wild lettuce. So I'm going to go ahead and pick it. I got 2 plants like this that are right beside this, which is really fascinating. And then I've got some others. So I'm going to grab those, and hopefully this is helpful for those of you who are kind of suspecting that you might have some wild lettuce or something you could use, but it's just growing like a weed, as they say. These things are growing really big right now. And, you know, you hate to chop stuff down before you know what it does. But wild lettuce has lots of uses to it, edibly and medicinally. I've never used it before, so this will be the first time. So we'll make other videos about how it goes. But now today we've identified at least 3 types of wild lettuce in my area. I don't remember the Latin names of them, but I know I can find them. So I'll put those in the notes, and then you can see also how we find other things. You know, I thought I had dock, but it's really a baby wild lettuce. So it's really important to do this before you mow. Okay, so this is about my grass is just about at 2 feet, and then I have some grasses that are like this that are a little uglier. They finish up like this, but they're about at my hip, so I'm going to say a good 4 feet up. So I am going to have somebody mow this soon because it does need to be mowed every once in a while in order for foraging to take place properly, for the small edibles to be able to grow well, which is why I can forage better in my neighbor's yard than in mine, because they mow and I don't. But you don't want to mow too often because every time you mow, you're injecting metals and terrifying things into your food supply if you're eating out of your yard. So hopefully that is helpful. The other thing, I've made a video about this before, so we won't go into it too deep now. You can look it up if you want to. But right behind me is crepe myrtle. I prune this about twice a year. It grows outside of my bedroom windows, probably because the people before me thought it would be a nice kind of privacy hedge. You can see my neighbors behind me, so we don't have a lot of space between us, but this is a black crepe myrtle, that's why it's darker, but you can dry these leaves. You can also dry the flower buds. I'm going to let it go ahead and get to flower bud stage probably. But it was planted very close to my foundation, about 2.5 feet from my foundation, which is a terrible idea because crepe myrtles are extremely invasive and they'll just do anything you allow them to do, and they'll be happy to tear up your foundation. So I take these all the way down to the ground. I prune them all the way down to the ground, just like chainsaw style. And but be aware, if you are going to let them bud, they will drop their seeds and they will do some other things. So I'm going to let them do that just because I will dry them and medicinalize them. They can be really helpful, from my understanding, for blood sugar management and sort of bladder cleansing and so forth. But I'm not a doctor, and I've only even personally used them a little bit because those are not mostly what I need medicinally. So, but just be aware, if you are around a crepe myrtle, someone would love for you to prune it for them, most likely. The bark is also medicinal, but I don't let mine get big enough to do the bark. I mean, you can also make tables out of it, but so hope that's helpful. Y'all take care. Talk to you soon. Oh, and remember to wear your gloves. I usually wear my big long rose gloves, but today I'm wearing these. And boots. Remember your boots because there are snakes if you're not mowing regularly sometimes.